Welcome at the Life Coach University, the platform that really got me because it is the paid forward platform. What does it mean to pay it forward? Well, there's a bunch of people with lots of experience that have committed to share their stories, their views, their insights, their knowledge nuggets with you for you to pay it forward so that you can share them with others or do something for others that maybe they cannot do for themselves. I love this principle. I'm very sure that you understand this in a very easy way. And I love all the stories that are coming back from different parts of the world who have paid it forward because they listened to one of our sessions. So my name is Jutta Jerlich, and I always want to talk about spinning straw into gold. And let me translate that for you. It's about finding that positive part in every story that we would categorize as something that failed. Anything that didn't work out, bad feeling for some reason, anger, all kinds of emotions where you feel like, why is it happening this way? This is not what I wanted. I'm the one looking for that positive part in it. What does that feeling show me? What does a feeling show us? Actually, if you understand your body as a collection of sensors that just wants to communicate with us. I know this might be a crazy way of thinking of it. And I'm talking about this to you today because I was asked the same thing yesterday and I did not really know how to answer that question. Well, the question was, to give you the context, we were in an event and we were talking about that inner voice. Where does it come from? Is it maybe, can you locate it in your body? And I was like, no, it's in different parts of my body. Can't really pinpoint it and say, well, it's just in my stomach. Maybe sometimes it's in my stomach, and other times it's somewhere else. So I can only explain that in a way that we have lots of sensors, or let me say, it's not actually explaining, it's trying to make sense about my own body and how it reacts. And sometimes a feeling just sticks, it doesn't go away. It just makes you feel really heavy. And you're wondering why, what happened, what's stuck in me? In those cases, I can recommend you to go outside, to take a hot shower, to take a cold shower, to do something that changes the scene, that changes the conditions you are in, so that you can kind of switch. That's what I needed to do this morning as well. And that's what I was explaining yesterday. And to be honest, there's so many topics around how we can make failure work for us that it's always the hardest thing where to start. Where to start in the sense of noticing even what's going on in that moment. Being present is really hard. So if you somehow have mastered that, or if you understand what it actually means to be present, we can work with ourselves to be present, to be brave enough to feel everything we are feeling. And that's a lot. That was part of my answer to that question yesterday. It really made me understand myself in a much better way when it's about these 60,000 thoughts that supposedly come into our minds every day. I can really understand how difficult it is to capture those that we need to take care of, that we need to pay attention to. There is a topic that I wanted to talk to you about this in this session, in our February session together, and I can just not recall it. I don't know if you know that feeling. Yeah, there's people who have, lots of advice for people like me who just want to stay in that creative space and, let the presence give me those answers that I'm looking for and not feel pressured by it. Many people always tell me, it's like, how can you do that? How can you go into a session just like today or into an event without knowing what you're going to talk about? Well, it's a very good question. But the way I see it is that it just evolves. It evolves in that moment. It evolves out of that energy that is present, the people that are there, the questions that might be there, the minds and souls and hearts of people listening to you. And maybe it's not even physical people in front of you like we are doing this today, or it's in your mind. You are traveling in an energetic field and you are meeting your grandma. I want to be able to receive what is necessary to be said. I don't know if that makes any sense. Some of the things that come out, when you just speak your mind, are things that you never thought you would say, things that you didn't make an agenda to say. That's actually something I could share with you from my really nice event yesterday. It was about how to become clear in hard times. But it's an exercise that I would like to pass on to you that is coming out of the inheritance of American Indians. And it's a very simple way of communicating. It's giving each other a certain amount of minutes to just speak. Speak about how you feel, what's going on in your body, starting to feel your body maybe, checking in with the sensors. How does it feel to be you right now? We don't do that very often, right? We don't check in with ourselves in our home, the home in our body. And sometimes the body is screaming so hard, listen to me, listen to me. It's sending you pain, it's sending you emotions, it's sending you all kinds of things so that you listen to that information, to that very valuable information that is trying to come through to you. That was really interesting to see other people do that, to give each other 2 minutes to just say what's happening in that moment. Then emotions can surface, tears can come, sadness, joy, anything that is happening in that moment, we're giving it space. That's actually leading me to another insight of my last week. how much space are you giving miracles to happen in your life? Do you know how it works, those miracles? Well, I was told that if you're giving miracles small space, you might experience small miracles in your life. If you're having a big space for miracles, then big miracles can happen. It sounds very simple, right? You might be thinking, what does all this have to do with spinning straw into gold? Well, in my world of learning, I believe that it all starts with reflection. And reflection can only happen if you have a space to reflect. If you allow yourself the time for doing nothing, for just sitting here and talking to you, talking to myself, for this inner dialogue that is needed to be able to connect with ourselves. Only if we can connect to ourselves, we can also connect to others, and we can connect to nature. And in this connection, we can become more aware of what's not going the way we want. And maybe it's a good thing that not all of the things are going the way we want. Those failures and dramas and accidents are maybe saving us from bigger ones. Yes, learning about ourselves is really key. Thank you for the message, Alexis. But it's so hard to do that, right? So how, if we have never learned how to do that, that's actually a real pity. You know, we don't learn this in school. We're not learning this in school. So many people are, talking about what to change in the education system. And the reality is that the real skills that we need, we're not teaching that to our young. Why are we not doing that? Well, people who are not in connection with themselves, they're much easier to handle because you can, yeah, put them in this role or push them in this direction. They will not come up with their own statements, their own ways of living, their own creative thoughts. And that's much easier, right? If you want somebody to do something for you, it's much easier if that person is not connected to themselves, right? You might, does that make any sense to you? Just think of it. If you don't have your own direction, you have not set sail on the ship you're sailing on, or maybe you're on the way of on your ship, but you're actually not knowing where you're going. And if someone comes along then and says, well, why don't we go there? You can do that, You can do that for me. Think about it. This is really nice. We could do this or this. And since you don't have that direction that you're going to, you're like, okay, why not? I have time. I can do that. But maybe there's this goal, this intention, this bigger thing that you're supposed to go after, that you're supposed to do on this earth. What's that message? What's that motivation that is driving you to get up every morning? Except feeding your cat or being there for your family. There's something very unique deep inside every one of us. And that's what we need to go after. Yeah, we are talking about what's the meaning of life right now. Because when you change your viewpoint, your perspective, everything changes. And that's what it means to spin gold, to spinning straw and make gold out of it. Changing perspective. There's so many people around. We are all actually carrying the same message within us, that it's okay to be ourselves. That's the biggest compliment I got in the last week. I can be myself when I'm around you. Thank you very much. Yes, try out and be yourself. Set yourself those borders of who you want to be, how you want to be, how you want to feel, and get into it. Saying no is really hard, I can tell you. I spent a long time to learn how to say no. Saying no is not easy. But then it's also not that simple as it sounds. Saying no changes, the difficulty of saying no changes depending on who you are talking to. Some people you don't want to say no to. But then on the other hand, if you're in a discussion about some construct in your mind, it changes. So those meanings of words that we use in our daily communications change depending on the context. And even worse so, those meanings or intentions that we are putting into words that we use to communicate something that we want to get across, transmit, and share with someone, they are received in a way that is depending on that person's experience. 95% of our reactions to situations depend on experiences that we had in the past. 95%. We are kind of on autopilot, I think. And takes so much of effort to stay on top of this, to stay conscious and aware of what's going on. Because, this body here, this is a really complex thing. So many things are going on in this body that have been automized. And I want to share a number with you that really opened my eyes. I'm doing lots of research, right, about stuff like questions where like, okay, why are we doing this actually? Is there any kind of a research around that topic that could prove that actually my feeling about something is right? And we need to really understand how much of what's going on in our minds and bodies is actually conscious, to be able to understand how difficult this is, to stay present and aware and knowing what's going on in the very moment we are in. So I have this number for you. It's 15 millimeters. 15 millimeters of our brain activity, mind activity, is the conscious part. So how much do you think is the unconscious part? Would you double it, triple it, 10x it? What do you think? 15 millimeters, 11 kilometers. 15 millimeters is the conscious part, and 11 kilometers is our unconscious part. And if you add all the bodily functions, like the digestion, breathing, all these things our bodies are doing for us without us to have to think, oh, I need to breathe, that would mean you have to add another 15 kilometers to that. So maybe this gives you a picture of, how big that space is actually, that we are able to shine a light on, a small, tiny pocket light of 15 millimeters we are actually aware of. So now I'm coming back to what I just said before, how much of pressure and drive is there to me to find answers to questions to prove that that feeling that I have is right. That feeling that something is wrong, for example. I'm sure you know that. You go somewhere, you go into, I don't know, a room, any kind of a place, an event, anything, and you feel something is not right here. And I assume that most of us, we just push this away, right? There is a reason why we are going to this place. And I want to believe that a big growing number of us are now becoming aware that those feelings, those inner truths are actually always right. That was a hard nut for me to crack, because I'm a person who is into researching and finding out answers and finding proofs and being able to present those truths and those concepts and methodologies when I'm asked, hey, why is it that way? Actually, we need to learn how to trust those inner truths that are there. But this is really hard, because at the same time, if you just insist on the views, the feelings, whatever it is there within you, maybe that's not the best basis for communicating, collaborating, and co-creating with others. We need to be open to others people's views and space and opinions. So this is a real dilemma for me. And it's a challenge every day to kind of sort that out. And if you're maybe tired or you don't feel so well, then our abilities to do so, to sort this out, is not in full capacity. So time and space are really, really important, because we want to convey a message. We are connecting to others, we are communicating, we are doing something together. We are group people. Humans don't work well alone. We need others to see ourselves. A complex topic, but the only place where we can start is with ourselves. Just imagine coming back to that number, right? 15 millimeters and 11 kilometers, that's only myself, right? So how can I even have the slightest thought that I would be able to understand that other person and they're 11 kilometers. It's just impossible. It's actually very, very unlikely that you are meeting someone and you actually connect and you understand the same thing about what you have spoken. It's actually highly unlikely that we ever find a way of understanding each other. This language is actually completely destroying um, this communication paths. Actually, I'm much better in connecting to my cat. I don't use words there. I completely rely on the feelings, on connecting to this energy, connecting to that aura, just connecting on a very different material level. And we all know how to do that because when we were kids, we were able to do that. So we have to dig out those abilities that we had and that we still have and create that trust that they work. Small little test that you can take with you and do somewhere, wherever you are. Maybe at a corner of a street, you could just test yourself and see the answers of the senses. Is there somebody that is there around the corner? Or is there nobody there? It's practice. It's fun. Just try it out. After a while, you'll become really good at it. You'll be able to see if there is somebody coming on the other side of the street around a corner. It's also fun to do something like that, to challenge yourself, to let your beliefs, yeah, show its practicality. So I hope you got some insights today that can practically help you to be more of you, to be yourself. That's the setting that we need. We could call it attitude or mindset or foundation, whatever word you want to use to describe that. And only when we are in that energy, I'll stay with that now again, we are able to look at something that we thought we would call it a failure, we would call it a failed project. We will be able to look at that and really analyze what we have put into it, what we have encapsulated and compressed into that project that we are trying to create, this program that we have created together. That task that you were asked to do in your company. And we can trust our minds that our mind will relieve or will be able to recall all those impressions that we had during these moments if we give ourselves that space. What is it that I'm talking about? Maybe it's meditating for someone to just close your eyes and go back and be in that space of the now and let the thoughts come and go. Well, this is a different form of a meditation that I call reflection, to let our minds travel back to those moments when that failure that you have actually called a failure, when this situation that you put the headline on as a failure, when that has happened, what were you going through? Were there any questions maybe that you asked yourself that you didn't ask actually? Was there inside you? Why did you act the way you acted? What was the reasoning for it? Doing that alone is, of course, a challenge, right? Because we cannot ask ourselves the questions that we actually don't know about. So that's why anything around projects that didn't work out or failure, you actually need someone else to help you dissect it and look at it in all its details. Again, coming to that point that we need each other, right? We need each other to understand ourselves, to learn about ourselves, and to figure out those mysteries, those puzzles that we are experiencing and that are leading us to feel huge emotions sometimes. Again, coming to the point of emotions to be pointers, to show us that there was something going on. And our bodies are actually reacting with all kinds of signals. There's a beautiful book which is called When the Body Says No, from Gabor Mate. He's a doctor and he has worked with addicts for decades. And he's now putting together all his knowledge, what he learned through working with lots and lots of people throughout many, many years. Just remembering that sentence is something that would help you, I think, when the body says no. If you could just take, curiosity and put that into any kind of a situation where you are experiencing pain or a sickness, maybe you can just ask your body, what is it that's going on that I should stop? Why are you saying no to me? Am I doing something that I'm not supposed to do? Even if you don't believe in all this, just taking that perspective for a moment may give you insights. This is why I'm sharing my stories with me, with you, of course, but I'm sharing my stories with me today. Unfortunately, not being able to see you. I completely lost my thought now. When the body says no, yes. It's about this question, this curiosity. Yeah, even if you don't believe in this, you're like, no, we don't have a connection there. Just allowing yourself to take that standpoint for a minute. It will allow you to understand more about yourself. And you don't need to be invested into something like a religion. You could just say, let's say there is a possibility that the body might be telling us something. A possibility, no certainty, a possibility. Questions are looking for possible answers. There might be several answers to a question. There might be questions that are leading you to even more questions. But I know that we have all the answers within us because that's how we are made of. 15 millimeters and 11 kilometers. So all of the questions that we have about ourselves in this tiny part of 15 millimeters, there should be answers to that in these 11 kilometers. We just need to learn how to access that knowledge. I hope that has given you something new, maybe to try out, a new angle to look at how we can deal with ourselves when we are in situations we are not comfortable in. And they happen, situations happen every day, just how life works. And it's our task to fill it with joy, with learning, with something that makes you feel valuable, that makes you feel that you have contributed, that makes you feel that you belong, that makes you feel appreciated and loved. The starting point is to give that to others and to give that to ourselves as well. So I will close our session here for today, listening to my body. And I want to thank the Life Coach University for giving me that space, that opportunity to talk to you and to be part of an initiative that is reaching so many people around the globe. Please send us the stories of how you want to pay it forward. Maybe the story, how it worked out for you to take some of the things I've shared with you and put it into practice in your own life. I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear how the ripple effect of the pay it forward reaches people beyond the audience that is listening now. Thank you very much for being here. Enjoy the rest of your day and feel my virtual hug. Bye bye.